running to get the phone and she tripped and broke her wrist, like so bad it needed pins, and plate, and screws to put her back together again.
Evening, John.
Evening. You hear me all right?
Indeed. Hi, Lane.
Hi, how's it going?
Very well. How are you going?
Good. Busy.
Hi, Terry.
Hi, Walter.
Hi, Jan.
Stop it.
All right, 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the select board to order, and all three of us are here. Are there adjustments to the agenda? John?
I'd like to add a CEO LPI search update if we could.
Sure. Where do you
We can leave it to the end, that's fine, or, I don't really care.
All right. Let's do it at the end.
Okay. And I'd also like to add an acknowledgement for Terry and Amy and others' efforts regarding the FEMA funds. A public acknowledgement.
Yeah, the $29,000 commitment that we got today from FEMA. Very nice. Penny?
Could I be added under department heads, please?
I can't hear you, sorry.
Could you please add me under department heads?
Sure.
Thank you,
You are a department head.
but not on the agenda, so.
Okay. Public comment for items not on the agenda. Hearing none. All right, we have some minutes to approve. November 30th, December 9th, January 5th, May 11th, and May 13th.
Yeah, I would move that we approve the minutes of November 30th, November 9th, and January 5th.
Is there a second?
Can you give me those dates again? I don't think I have one of those.
November 30th, December 9th,
Okay,
and January 5. They were the ones that Anna found.
yep,
She
Okay.
transcribed from YouTube.
yeah. I think you said November 9th, so, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, November 30th, December 9th, and January 5th.
Yeah, I'll second that, but I do have discussion.
Okay,
I talked to Terry and Anna, and I understand under the two executive sessions, they weren't able to determine what time we came out of executive session. Items 4 and 5. It's lost to history, as they say. But I would like to see us say, board exited executive session at unrecorded time. For both 4 and 5. Because we're supposed to document when we come out.
yep. So you're making a motion to amend the minutes and then and approve as amended.
Yeah, if Jan would accept that as a friendly amendment, I'm.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, all in favor, Jan,
Audio I.
John,
Spear eye?
right side. So May 11th. That was our hearing. No, that was our meeting.
That was our, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for those, sorry.
Have the edits all caught up with people?
Could I ask a question of Terry?
Sure.
Is this the revised copy with the edits that that was in the packet?
Number 2?
Uh,
Number 1.
yeah, number two.
Rev 2.
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes of revision 2 of the minutes of May 11th.
You have them, Jan?
I have May 13th I'm looking at.
I'll second May 11th. Then. Any discussion?
I do have May 11th. I just don't have the latest revision. I'm sorry.
It was in the packet.
Yep, I didn't pick up a packet at the town office.
Oh, okay.
That's my fault. Can you just very quickly give me an idea what revised, Terry?
I can't really remember between all 5 of the minutes that read, and
Okay,
the numbers on there were mostly your revisions.
I don't, they were fairly minor.
that's okay.
I don't recall. I don't think there was anything substantial.
Right. I'm sure I would have supported it. So
Wildly, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
But you may abstain if you wish. All in favor, John.
Aye.
Right side, Jan.
I'm sure I would be in favor.
All right. All right, May 13th. That was the select board and the planning board and the ORC.
I'll make a motion. We approve the select board minutes of. Well, actually, I just noticed that it does say planning board minutes, which I don't think we can approve. Well, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the select board minutes of May 13th as revision 2.
Okay, again, I don't have that revision, so Walter, will you second that?
Yeah, I will second that. And I think the minutes that, as Terry has submitted them, are mostly focused on select board, not planning board or ORC. Although it's hard to, it's hard to separate that out because there was dialogue amongst 3 groups.
It's just at the top, it says select board / planning board.
Planning board, public hearing minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm only moving that we approve the select board.
And I'm only seconding that. Gosh darn it. All right. All in favor, John?
Aye.
Walter, aye.
Audio aye.
All right. Okay. All right. So instead of new business, we now have a department head request from Penny. The floor is yours.
Thank you. A couple of quick things. The library started this week with 3 days a week open, 3 hours each day that we're open. And we have received a generous donation of so far 16 framed prints with more to come from Snow Prints to be sold at the book sale and the flea market to benefit the library. So they will be available at the book sale and then at the flea market, which is June 26th here at the Little Red Schoolhouse. And cemetery, we had the adjacent property owners have mowed the cemetery. I asked them to keep track of any expenses incurred. But it looks very nice. And that's it for me. Thank you.
That's Thorndike Cemetery?
Yes, Thorndike.
So all is in order for the Memorial Day as well?
It will be by this weekend. So
one thing I wanted to bring up, and I should have done it at the top, and I'll throw it out and then we can think about it by the end of the meeting. Should June 1st be our last Zoom only meeting? Should we return to in person? I think the June 1st, because of the large number of attendees that we can expect from far away, we don't want to make it an in-person only meeting. But after that, let's think about going back to semi-normal or normal. Okay.
Walter?
Yeah, sure.
Do we need to accept those donations?
Yes.
I have my town report in front of me, but just because they're not cash, let me just grab my town report.
Yeah, they're donations in kind.
And Lynn Snow's prints, they're not 25 cents.
That's right.
I'm sorry, Penny, did you say Lynn and not Nick?
correct. Snow Prints is the mail order for Lynn Snow Prints. These are frame prints. There's 16 of them. And we are selling them at half price, so $60 to $70 a piece for the ones that we have now. I have more to pick up that will be slightly smaller, but it is a significant donation. Over $1,000. Should we sell them all?
The number of prints. And we just don't know the dollar value until they're sold, I guess.
So it would seem to me what's John looking up?
I'm trying to look up if we need to accept gifts. And unfortunately, when I'm trying to do something quickly, I can't find it.
It's at the end of the warrant.
Yeah, it does say gifts. It doesn't limit it to cash.
Right.
So I would move that we accept this donation from Lynn Snow, excuse me, what's the name, Penny, the official name?
No Prints Limited.
Snow Prints Limited for the benefit of the library.
And the number of prints again?
Well, there are 16 now, but there are more to come. So,
16. You want to modify the motion, John, to 16? To get,
well, I would like to have some sort of blanket acceptance so I can keep accepting them if they're
Penny?
going to vote.
Penny, do you have to wear your mask where you are?
I am at the library and it is by choice
Yeah,
here.
it makes it very hard for us to understand you, that's all.
I'll try to speak up.
Well, do you have an idea of how many? We could say up to so many or something like that.
I do not.
Okay.
Then I would propose we accept the 16, and then when you get more, we'll accept those.
Well, I'm expecting to pick up some tomorrow and hope to offer them for sale on Saturday. I can keep a
Yeah.
running total and
maybe
bring
we
it to
could,
you at the next
Now that
meeting.
they've loosened up, so maybe we could meet and have some dinner somewhere or lunch or something someday.
Somebody's
Yeah.
not muted.
Hey, Sally, why don't you mute? You're talking on the phone.
She is now.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't want to belabor this, but if we get up to 30, would that suffice for now?
Sure. Well, 50. Let's say 50.
Okay.
He's getting to the smaller items, so I expect to see more of those.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll move that we authorize acceptance of up to 50 of the, I'll withdraw my first motion and get another motion to accept up to 50 of the prints from Snow Prints.
I second the motion.
Okay, any further discussion or any discussion? All in favor, Jan,
Audio aye?
John,
Aye.
Walter, aye. All right. Okay, is the Spectrum representative on?
Hi, that's yes, Melinda, and then Shelley Winchenbach is also on via phone.
Okay. You have the floor.
Oh, great. Thanks, guys. Hi, so my name's Melinda Kinney, and I work at Spectrum based in Portland. Shelley Winchenbach is on my team. She's also a resident of South Thomaston, so you guys may know her and or her family, since I think Maine is a half a degree of separation, so everybody knows everybody. So anyway, so we're really happy to be here, and thank Terry for letting us come on your meeting tonight and talk a little bit about broadband, answer some questions you guys might have, and just talk about maybe some potential opportunities that we see that you guys could take, and just again, like, really want to just have an open dialogue and just give you a little bit of insight about Spectrum and kind of what services we offer. But before I get started, do you guys have any kind of general questions or things that I should probably, like, you want me to hit on, or just kind of I can just talk and then we can do questions afterwards if you'd like?
For my benefit, although I think I know most of this. So Spectrum is part of Charter Communications, which is a nationwide conglomerate of various tech companies. But how did it come about locally? Because and I'm relatively new, 13 years here. So there was Time Warner Cable.
It was, yeah.
And
So-
then you guys acquired Time Warner Cable.
So I actually was with, Shelley and I were both with Time Warner Cable, and Charter Communications purchased Time Warner Cable along with Bright House Communications, another cable company that's actually more based in the South. And so, yes, Charter Communications is the parent company. Spectrum is the brand of the services that are offered. And so similar to like Procter and Gamble has like Dawn dish soap, if you will. So it's just Spectrum are the name of the services that are that we provide to our customers.
Yeah, it's like Comcast and Xfinity. Yep.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a perfect example. And so Charter operates in 41 states, and in Maine, we have services in 293 communities. We have about 400,000 customers. And I think part of one of the handouts that we provided to Terry has the Spectrum kind of a state fact sheet that gives you a little bit of a snapshot of Charter's operations in Maine. And so, you know, to your point, Walter, while it is a national company, the only services that we provide are, you know, voice or, you know, phone, video, mobile services, and obviously broadband. And those are the only services we offer. We don't have additional companies kind of part of Charter, so it's just Charter Spectrum. But and so in Maine, you know, every year we invest over about $55 million a year in our infrastructure and our network. We usually expand our network and our services to over 7,000 homes and businesses every year. So we're looking to partner with the state, you know, through and local municipalities to help extend broadband services, and whether that's through Connect Maine, through projects that we do on our own. For instance, we're building out brand new communities in Etna, Newburgh, and Swanville. Those will become live this summer. Or, you know, there's a lot of opportunities through some federal funds that are obviously coming down the pike through, you know, to local municipalities as well. So wanted to really have kind of a conversation with with you guys within the town, and just talk about what, you know, kind of where Spectrum's footprint is, what services we offer, and just kind of see if there are opportunities that we might be able to discuss about expanding some of the services to get broadband coverage to more areas of your community. So right now, within the town, our network covers 1,108 homes and businesses, and so that's the number of homes and businesses that have access to Spectrum services. We treat business and residential services very separately, in the sense that on the residential side, our fastest right now, currently, our fastest network or broadband speeds we offer 1 gig services, which is 950 meg down and then 35 megabits up. And our standard residential speed is 100 by 10 megabits per second. So and just to give you kind of a benchmark, the FCC standard is 25 by 3. So, and I know it's a lot of numbers, and it may not mean a lot to folks, but the services that we offer are, you know, kind of basically exceed the FCC standards that are out there right now.
So from the board, do you want to finish your pitch and then take questions, or do you want to be interactive? I'll let you select the modus operandi. And then at the end after the board and you and the board get done, then we'll turn it over to any interested parties to ask questions as well. But
well, I'll just kind of finish up on a couple different things. One, on the business side of things, we're able to provide a direct fiber connection to any, you know, and provide scalable symmetrical services to any business and whatever they might need. So we, you know, if a business needs, you know, multi-gigabit symmetrical services, we can absolutely provide that today. Our services, right now, as I mentioned, our gig services are the fastest that we offer at this moment, but we are currently in our cable labs testing a 10 by 10 gig symmetrical service over our existing architecture, which is a hybrid fiber coax system, meaning that there is a fiber backbone, and then from like the pole to the house is a coax drop. But what we're in the process of doing is kind of, we're driving fiber further into the network. And in some cases, as I mentioned, the Newburgh, Etna, Swanville new builds, we're doing fiber to the home. And so those are services, but all of our services, whether it's a fiber to the home build or a hybrid fiber coax network, the services are the same throughout the state, and actually throughout the country. It's a kind of a national approach to providing services, but that's one positive thing that Charter can bring to local communities, is that we are absolutely investing in our network, and we are going to be delivering higher speeds, especially as to stay ahead of the consumer demand.
So how is the 55 million in CapEx allocated in terms of various technologies or other innovations?
Well, I mean, it runs the gamut between equipment that we put in our head ends, or our hub sites, to infrastructure that's out on the poles, to fiber optics, and anything plant related. It's really all rolled. That number is all rolled up into any kind of capital equipment that we need to deliver our services and to upgrade, the technology to be able to continue to deliver the speeds that that we advertise and that we're providing.
All right, keep it going unless there are other board questions. John.
Well, I have questions, but I want to let Melinda finish if she hasn't.
No, I mean, in general, I think, and Shelley, I don't know if I've missed anything that we should mention, but before we kind of launch into questions.
I think just to add the local touch, because I live here, I was born and raised in South Thomaston, and I've worked with Terry in the past on some of the cable issues that we've had. And as part of your federal funding that the towns will be allotted, that's money that can go to the unserved areas in town. We provided a coverage map of that, so you can look to see where we cover and where we don't. I mean, that's something that I can work with the town and work with Terry on, looking at any areas that may not have service. Most of the town is covered. We provide services to most of the town, but there are some pockets along the way that could be looked at. But I just wanted to touch on, the local aspect, because I know this town. I've been here my whole life, so I just wanted to add that.
John.
So you said, I think 1,018, your coverage provides access to 1,018 business and residents. But of that number, how many people actually subscribe, if you will?
So it's actually 1,108.
Oh.
So it's a little bit more than that. And then we have about a little over 860 customers.
Okay. And then from what I am gathering here, the two biggest issues seem to be concerns with the current technology or service levels is the upload speeds and underserved areas. And your map does show several streets, for lack of a better word, not necessarily public ways, but roads that don't have service. I suspect a lot of those don't have any homes on them. Don't have many homes on them, but I do think that is an issue of equity and so that's a concern. But the upload speed seems to be a major concern as well. And I was just wondering if you could address you kind of already talked a little bit about the unserved areas. It sounds like it's not profitable for you to do it unless there's some sort of government assistance or match or something. That's kind of what I heard. But the upload speed issue, could you talk a little bit more about that? Because I'm looking at the American Rescue Plan funds document. Matter of fact, I read most of it last night. It's about this thick.
Yep.
Their recommended speeds are a lot higher than 3 on the upload side, from what I gather.
Yeah, so our just to take a step back, thanks, John. To take a step back on the areas that we don't serve. You know, as Shelley mentioned, a majority of the town has coverage, but we are, you know, we can absolutely take a look at getting estimates for those small pockets that don't have service. And to your point, yes, I mean those are areas that have been uneconomical for a private company to move forward. But you know what, this is a great opportunity to potentially look at some of the federal funds that are available. And so and it may not be that significant of a cost to actually do those extensions. So you know, again, something that we could absolutely look into. On the upload speeds, our fastest upload speed today is 35 megabits per second. We have the download is 940, so that's about it, like the gig service that I was talking about. Most of, you know, our services generally, let me back up, like, and I can certainly provide some data points for you on this, but the way that consumers use the internet is highly asymmetrical. It is very rare that you have a significant upload speed of 100, you know, unless you are you know, it's generally a business that is like uploading massive, you know, graphics files, that sort of thing. And so, and that's when I was mentioning, when we have a business service that we offer, and we can offer those significant symmetrical speeds today through you know, through the direct fiber connections that you know, that a business might need. So I mean, the network that we have is absolutely scalable to that. But when you look at the data, even at the top in the peak of COVID, the average consumer's upload speed was like 7 megabits per second. It's not, you know, and I think people get concerned about, well, what's it going to be in the future? And we have to future-proof everything. And I think that's a valid concern. But from like Charter's perspective, we're absolutely managing and scaling the network in advance of the consumer needs. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, if we don't, you know, it's a competitive market, and you know, we'll lose customers, and that's something that we absolutely don't want to do. And so the company is absolutely hyper focused on continuing to stay ahead of the curve. But again, consumers use the internet in a very asymmetrical way. We generally download a lot more than we upload.
Today's consumers.
Right, and as I mentioned, you know, we're absolutely scaling those services.
I think if I wanted to attract many more telecommuters and unplug them from their companies in Boston and bring them here, those would be file uploaders and video conferencers. So they would need, by definition, the higher upload speeds. And one of the ways where we talk about broadband, I don't think about streaming Netflix as going to help Maine bridge the gap between its so-so economy and where we would really like it to be. Because we have lots of things going for us to become a part of the knowledge and telecommuting society, but lousy technology infrastructure or subpar technology infrastructure is one of those things that need to be conquered. Mm-hmm. And you know, my kids come up here and they just roll their eyes at so you know, I don't this is just me. It seems to me that everybody that is competing for our broadband business ought to be talking about the same speed up as the same down, and laying out the innovation and development path to get there.
So
I shall jump off my soapbox at that point.
Yeah. So a couple of things. I mean, even for a Zoom, like an HD kind of Zoom upload, the max upload speed is 3 megabits per second. So I understand, but I understand what you're saying. And I think, I mean, maybe we're talking past each other, but what I'm, was trying to point out is the fact that, we have, if a telecommuter wants to come in and they have they need a business connection, we can do a direct fiber connection to their home and get them the speeds that they need to work from a remote business out of their home. We can absolutely do that today. And that's why I was trying to differentiate the difference between our business accounts and then the residential accounts. And again, 940 by 35 speed that we offer today for our gigabit speed, it can accommodate multiple users in doing multiple whether it's work, educational classes, that sort of thing. So and it's not something that's going to stay stagnant. I mean, absolutely those numbers are going to increase, and even in the last 3 years they've increased dramatically.
Jan has his hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, Melinda, for my education, when you talk broadband, could you define that for me? What do you mean broadband? Because that's a term I hear a lot. Is that fiber?
So I guess it depends on. I guess I'm not quite understanding the question.
I'd like to know how Spectrum defines broadband.
Our broadband, our entry-level broadband speed is 100 by 10 megabits per second.
That's not what I mean. Tell me what broadband is. Is it coaxial cable? Is it fiber optic? What is it?
I think it's everything. It's all of those. I mean, it depends on the architecture within the community. It's all of those things.
So if I have coaxial cable to my home, I have broadband access. Is what you're telling me.
If you have the speeds that, if you have a speed, I mean, if you're going to define it as the FCC, that's one thing. I mean, that's a 25 by 3, but it's not. It's really about the speeds that you're able to get in the company, whoever your provider is, that's able to deliver on that network.
Okay, my provider is Spectrum.
Okay.
I live at the end of a dirt road, private road, and I struggled for years even to get connected. And I am connected, but I really don't understand when you start talking broadband. It's clearly not fiber connected, and it limits us, as we know from our meetings. Occasionally, when we're even Zooming, we have trouble communicating. We, particularly Walter, it seems like, has to go off video and just go voice only. So I'm just trying to understand when Spectrum talks about broadband, in my mind, broadband is fiber optic. In Spectrum's, obviously in your mind, it's not. So I don't think you can give us the speed that you're talking about. In other words, 900 and something upload or download and 35 upload. I don't think you can provide that on the coaxial cable that most of us, I think, have to our home.
So with all due respect, we absolutely can. And I think that there are a lot of different variables that could be at play with your particular situations that you're talking about, whether it's some people may be on older Time Warner cable packages that haven't migrated to our base speed or to a different, with a newer modem. It could be an issue on the plant. I mean, if you haven't had a service call, I would love to, have the opportunity to get somebody out there to take a look at what's happening. But our core backbone, our core network is fiber based. And the only coax is from the pole, as I mentioned, to the home. So, like I said, there are so many different variables that could be happening with each individual's home, but absolutely our network in a hybrid fiber coax environment can deliver a 940 by 35. And if you signed up for that service and you don't have that, or you don't have 100 by 10, then we absolutely need to get somebody out there to take a look at, see what's going on for sure.
Okay.
John and then Jeff.
Actually, I have two questions. One is, you gave us a whole list of failed or failing GONs, which I guess stands for government operated networks, government owned networks. I got the distinct feeling these were kind of cherry picked, in all due respect. I can't imagine that every GON has failed. So I was a little, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, and I don't mean to insult you about that, but I would assume there are examples out there of government-owned networks that have not failed. I didn't have time to look into that, but so that's just a comment. But the other question, just so I understand it, on this download upload speed, it seems to me what you're trying to tell us is that economically, it would make no sense to build an 8-lane interstate highway to get through South Thomaston, given our traffic level. It just would be a crazy investment in infrastructure. Is that what you're saying? I mean, that it just doesn't make sense to build a highway that, you know, has 8 lanes in it when you have 1 car per hour or 1 car per minute or something coming along the road. Is that kind of I know that's an exaggeration, but is that sort of what you're trying to get across, that you need to structure the size of the infrastructure in a reasonable manner, or it becomes unaffordable?
I guess in some ways, yes and no. I mean, I guess on the upload download speed, I was just trying to point out the fact that how consumers use the service, use broadband nationally today is a very asymmetrical way. But I think, and the reason we pointed out some of these government-owned networks, we're obviously very aware of what's happening in Knox County and the interlocal agreement, and there's a significant effort afoot for some of the communities within Knox County to go and build their own network. And I wanted, Shelley and I wanted to flag that is like, listen, there are multiple, and those are some examples of, and I honestly don't know of a government-owned network that long-term that has succeeded, but I will absolutely go back, and I'm curious myself to find out if there are any examples, and I'd be happy to share those with you. But from the taxpayer's perspective, I mean, that's a significant, when you have existing providers, because I believe Consolidated is also provides services. We do, there are, wireless providers that are, and especially there's some RDOF money that's going to, some of the new satellite providers. So there's a lot happening within the broadband space. And I think, it seems like it's a very risky proposition from the taxpayer's perspective to enter into a 20-year agreement for a broadband network that is solely, even with the county funds that I understand that the Midcoast group is trying to go after, the feds have said if there's already existing 25x3 broadband service, you can't use those monies for that. And so, again, we were just trying to listen, put all the cards on the table. Obviously, the town is going to do, you guys are going to make the decision that you feel is best for your community. But again, we just wanted to point out some of the pitfalls that we've seen with communities going on their own, with overbuilding, different providers that are there, because again, it's not free and it will cost taxpayers money. But I also wanted to point out and just at least provide the opportunity to talk with you guys about, opportunities that you have with your incumbent provider. And, and if there are service issues, we absolutely want to fix it. We have 700 employees in the state, and you've got, one in your backyard, and we absolutely take pride in the services that we offer. And if you have crappy service, we want to make sure we get it fixed.
Thank you.
Muted, Walter.
I was talking to Barbara. Jeff.
Yeah, I've got 2 real questions. One, you said that if you were a business, you could get fiber to your business. Mm-hmm. And 2, you said all of our spectrum has fiber and then cable coax from the pole. I'm sorry, I don't believe either of those. I think the nearest fiber that we've got out here in South Thomaston goes down North Shore Drive over to the airport, and that's it. We don't have any fiber coming into our town. And if we did, I think it's kind of arbitrary to say if you're a business, we'll give you fiber to your door, but if you're residents, we won't give you business. We won't give you fiber to your door. That's kind of an arbitrary distinguishment, because there's a lot of, and it's hard to determine if there's a lot of people who are residents who use the service for commercial purposes. So I'm questioning both of those statements.
So I'm going to let Shelley weigh in on the fiber piece because I know she knows the network really well in the area. So I'm going to let her talk about that.
We have the fiber feeds the nodes. I know you're speaking about Owl's Head Airport. That's going to be a different like fiber that's direct to that business. But our fiber within, it's the backbone that feeds the nodes within the town. That's what the fiber is. And as far as getting that to your home, if you're a home-based business, if you're working from your home and you want fiber directly to your home, you can have that under a business plan. It's just, we have two different buckets to choose from, so to speak. You have residential or you have business. And if you want a fiber connected to your home to run your business or work from home, that's something that we can do.
Cliff.
Thank you. And thanks so much for this presentation. It was very informative. I have two questions. One is, we're thinking about the future, not the present. And two things. One is, South Thomaston is a town that has a wide variety of people in it. There are people who have large resources and people who have substantially less resources. And if you accept the fact that broadband, however you define it, but I define it as a large pipe to the internet, is a utility. It's something that's going to be necessary for the future, for education, for communications, for healthcare, which is the area that I happen to be in. That is really required to have the type of service that is brought to the businesses. So my question is, do you have any commitment to people who have less resources than the ability to pay $75 or $80 a month for 25 by 3 or even 100 by 10?
Yeah, absolutely. We do actually. We offer a Spectrum Internet Assist. So that's for families who have children, is part of the National School Lunch Program, or seniors who receive like Social Security supplemental benefits. And it's about $30 a month for 30 by 5 service. And we also are the company is also participating in the federal EBB program, Emergency Broadband Program, where they can sign up. Existing and new customers can get a $50 voucher from the federal government as part of the federal stimulus funding.
Yeah, that'll get you sort of through Tuesday. I mean, the point is that in people like fishermen and small business owners, they can't afford your 1 gig symmetric service. Yet they will, within 5 years, need it in order to do their business. So, I mean, for example, will Spectrum commit to fiber to the home?
We to do a rebuild of the town.
Yeah, like fiber to the home, like single fiber to the home.
So we do fiber to the home, and that is something that we've actually just started costing out with different communities. It's like an overbuilding, kind of in our utilizing our infrastructure and doing a complete overbuild of our network, like a rebuild, actually, not overbuild. But yeah, I mean, there's absolutely a cost associated with that, but we are starting to look at that. But I'm trying to think, and we are doing fiber to the home builds in the new communities that I mentioned that we are expanding our services into. And
do you anticipate that your average fisherman will be able to afford that?
Afford
fiber to the home?
Well, like our services, whether like right now, for instance, like the in the town on Vinyl, or not Vinyl Haven, North Haven and Otisfield, and actually Long Lake, Madawaska, we have fiber to the home networks in those communities, and the services are the same that we offer in South Thomaston.
And that's 1 gigabyte.
Up to 1 gigabyte is the fastest currently. But as I mentioned, we're testing 10 gig symmetrical services right now in cable labs, and I don't have a date for when that will roll out, but that is actually over fiber to the home and a hybrid fiber coax network.
And you don't have you don't happen to have a price for that by any chance, do you?
No, not yet. No, not yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to add to that as well, that if you're looking to, the town has federal funding, it has the county funding, it has federal funding that will be coming your way. There's other programs too. So I mean, if you're looking to do a major project, we'd definitely be willing to partner with you and to look into it. But there's also other grant programs out there. There's a Connect Maine that the state has. So there's other programs that are out there. So I don't want you to think that going with the Knox County agreement is your only option. I mean, if you're real concerned about technology, please, talk to us first and let us see what we can do to work with you on that.
Yeah, and just to finish up, I'm concerned about technology. I'm concerned about the future, but I'm also concerned about equity, and I'm concerned about equal access.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that I think that that's absolutely something that, I think that's why the feds have rolled out that program. And that's why, again, we have the Spectrum Internet Assist program. And I think, again, all of these services and the speeds and are continuing to evolve and really trying to stay ahead of the curve, and will be staying ahead of the curve of consumer demands.
John.
I don't think, Shelley, you should classify the interlocal agreement as Knox County. I think, actually, I would be much happier if it was the entire Knox County. That's one of my hesitancies, that it isn't Knox County. So I don't think we should call it something that it isn't, or isn't currently, and I don't know if it would be eventually, but certainly at this point, that's not what's contemplated as I understand it.
Yeah, I just mean by Knox County, I just meant the outer group that they've reached out to. Every town.
I understand that, but when you throw out a word like the Knox County agreement, it gives the impression that it's all of Knox County. So.
Okay, so we've had some learnings and some mild back and forth, not necessarily disagreements, just different perspectives. What do you want to leave us with, Melinda?
Just, Lisa, I just wanted to, really appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation, and, please, let us, two things. Look, one, if you guys are having or, not getting the services that you think that you signed up for, I really want to know, because I think that a lot of times that happens, and want to make sure that people are getting the services that they're paying for. And, just to sort of reiterate what Shelley had said, is that, we are, we're local, we're here, and we really want to help be a part of the solution. And, again, we feel like, public-private partnerships are a really cost-effective way to go for the towns. And so, again, happy to answer questions and then provide additional resources.
Jan.
Yeah, Melinda, I appreciate your sincerity in that comment, but I can tell you that who do I call, for example, if I have a complaint about Spectrum? Do I call you?
Yeah, call me. Send me an email. I'll take care of it. Absolutely.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reach out to me anytime. I can stop by the town office and talk to you anytime.
The local office of Spectrum on County Road is generally unhelpful. And I don't blame the people, the staff there, because I think they're very limited by corporate and what they can do and what they can't do. So frequently they pass you on to a phone call, and you're talking to someone that you have no idea where they are, and you're trying to work your way through a problem. But okay, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah, no, seriously, let us know. That's why we're here to help.
Okay. Any parting thoughts? Going once, going twice. Thank you, guys. Have a great holiday weekend.
You too. Appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.
Is it okay with Jan and John if I jump ahead to Lane?
I was going to suggest that.
So I have three things on my mind. One is give us your take on the budget, which is coming our way. And I didn't watch the entire proceedings the other night, but it looked like that you didn't have an amphitheater full of citizens participating in that discussion. But more importantly, Lane, I'd be interested in hearing your observations, thoughts about your first year doing this, and especially what going forward, if anything, you would like the select board to engage with you on or not.
Sure. I was listening to the other discussion. I was very intrigued. I have Spectrum and I live right on Elm Street, and it is not particularly reliable. So it's intriguing to listen to that. That's just a side comment that I'll leave there. But yeah, so the school board, I can talk about the budget in a second, but I'll start with overall impressions. I think I said this the last time, I don't remember what month it was when you had me on before, but the school board has been really interesting to do both remotely and during a pandemic that has directly affected public education and what that looks like. So there's been sort of an interesting learning process there. And I still don't feel like I fully know what it means to be on the school board, mostly because I haven't been to an in-person school board meeting because we haven't had one. And I think that will change. You know, you all are discussing it. We're discussing it in terms of going back to in-person. So it'll be interesting to see that transition. But overall, it's been fascinating. And I do wish that I was getting more public comment from people in South Thomaston. We do get public comments in our email. People can address them to the school board. But I don't see a lot of people saying like, I'm a resident of South Thomaston, or a lot of people contacting me in particular. So, you know, people are busy, but I'm trying to represent this town, I guess, and, you know, would love feedback on that. As far as the budget goes, again, an interesting learning process remotely. And I have very, very little knowledge of how budgets work. I'm okay at math, but I'm bad at budgets. So I think that we were lucky in a lot of ways in terms of it could have been a really bad year for figuring out the budget, and that's the impact on taxpayers and residents of the district. If we hadn't had some COVID monies, as they kind of refer to them, that sort of federal aid to help shore up some things, and a kind of a more optimistic picture than we might have thought last July when I joined the board. And so the budget that the superintendent presented, they keep referring it, both in the business office and the superintendent, they keep referring to it as a status quo budget, which I think means that they tried to kind of keep everything flat, but there is an increase due to increases in salaries and benefits, which is part because of the negotiations with contracts. That's sort of a union process. And so I don't have much information on that because I'm certainly not in the room. And I think the negotiation for the contracts are multi-years sometimes. So I haven't delved deep into that, but that's where a lot of the increase in cost is coming from. The big item that was a little controversial at the last meeting, if people caught it, was the contingency monies. So there's like a line item in the budget, about $100,000, I think, for contingencies. So unexpected expenses that have to be paid out. And so some folks were worried that we were having a budget that was a little bit too high, in terms of its impact on taxpayers because we added that sort of buffer in. I think I kind of landed on the side of it's useful to have a bad weather sort of fund in case something happens. And hopefully, what we're hoping is that with the state funding, the state kind of trying to finally reach that 55% promise of funding, and with some possibility of like if an infrastructure bill passes at the federal level, it could trickle down to us for some infrastructure projects. I would hope that budgets in the future, not this year's budget, because it couldn't get wrapped into it, but once we know that funding, those funds and how much they'll be to us, next year's budget could look really nice in terms of, again, maintaining either like no increase or minimal increase to taxpayers. So this is an odd year for me to try to wrap my head around what a budget looks like. I found the resources on the business office webpage on RSU 13 really good, like really helpful. If people want to go see those, there's some links to the presentation that was given at the public meeting and some other links. And so I can go into some details. I was talking with Pete in the business office about some of this, so I can answer some details about South Thomaston in particular. I could either share my screen or I can throw you all some links in either emails or chat or whatever. But we do have a bit more of an increase for South Thomaston in terms relative to some of the other towns in terms of the share of the budget and the cost that kind of comes down on residents. And that is, I think in large part, I've been going over the numbers a little bit. We've had an increase in the number of students from South Thomaston who are attending RSU 13. And other towns have either stayed kind of flat or they've even decreased in the number of students over the last 3 years. So we had, for instance, we had 160 students in 2019, and we now have in 2021, 175 students. So we've had an increase there, whereas other towns have actually had a decrease in students. So then we're paying more of the share of the budget is sort of how it plays out, I guess. So
And our total valuation has also gone
has also
up.
gone up. Yes, those are the two factors. Yeah.
What is our portion of the budget? Can you tell
Yeah.
me?
Do you want me to screen share or do you want me to just kind of read off these figures to you?
It doesn't matter. I'm trying to do some math here. 175 students divided by the bill, and I can come down to what it costs per student.
Okay, let me see here. So we have the total, we're obligated to pay $3,467,065, which is a $137,000 increase over last year.
3,467,000. Okay.
Yes.
Can you read that number again?
3,467,000.
Yep.
I'm trying to figure out if that
So if I divide it by 175 students, I come up with about $19,811 per student. Cost to educate.
Well, that's just our assessment. There's other funds in the budget.
Oh yeah, that's what we pay to educate South Thomaston students.
Well, yes and no. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I'm looking here to try and figure out if that number is already includes the state subsidy. So that's the other factor for us in terms of we didn't receive a subsidy in 2020, but we are receiving a subsidy in 2021. And that is
will that subsidy reduce the amount that we pay? Or are we still paying the 3.4?
That's what sorry, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm looking at the slides here. So for the fiscal year 2022 budget, our subsidy is $398,000. So about $400,000 from the state for South Thomaston. That's an increase from 2021 when it was only 186,000. So we're receiving more money as a town from the state, probably because our valuation has like gone up in terms of property values. Probably there's some, kind of something there. I don't know. The formula is very odd. So we are paying. I'm sorry. I'm clearly not the right person to share all this. I was digesting it during all of our meetings, and now I'm trying to like synthesize it for you all. And I've been exchanging a lot of emails with Pete. So let me like glance over these emails, but do you all have other questions? And I'll try to figure out the answer to that, whether it includes the subsidy or not, that number.
Go ahead, John.
I was under the impression that the additional subsidy was that Governor Mills proposed in the budget change package was for this upcoming year. And I thought I just heard you say it wasn't. That's one question. Let me just peel them off and then I'll shut up. I'm also interested in, not tonight, but I'm very interested in hearing about the progress with recouping funds from St. George. It's dragged on forever and ever and ever and ever. And the other day I went on, maybe a week or so ago, I went on the RSU 13 website, and maybe it's me, but I could find nothing about the proposed budget on the website at all. And I'm not a very good techie, but I'm not terrible at it either.
Peter had a tech disaster of some sort that he mentioned at the hearing the other night. So I don't know whether that's been repaired or not. So, but I had the same problem, John, and then Peter mentioned that last night or whatever.
The next to the last question I have is the local access educational channel for over a year now says we're experiencing technical difficulties. Is that ever coming back where they'll televise the school board meetings? Do you know anything about that? That may be a Spectrum issue. Is anybody left from Spectrum? But it's been, I'd say, well over a year now that it just runs the same message over and over again. And I'm just curious if that's a school district issue, where they're not getting uploaded or whatever the term is to Spectrum, or if the school has decided to discontinue that, or if it's a Spectrum issue. I think that's it.
Okay, let me try to respond to those to the best of my knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need the answers tonight to the, particularly like the local access channel. I don't expect you to even have a clue. So
the website, yes, I think Pete was having a problem uploading the documents. So now if you go to RSU 13 and you go to, at the top, one of the bars is business office. And then if you hover over that, you get FY22 budget is the very last item. And all of the documents are, all the links look like they're active. I was clicking on all of them today as I was trying to figure out this impact on South Thomaston. The recouping funds from St. George, I don't know how much I can speak to that. I think I came in the midst of that, and I know that's been ongoing, and is still ongoing. And I think that the superintendent has a much better handle on it than I do as a new school board member, and especially when it comes to the communication, because I'm not as a school board member, I'm not the one directly communicating with St. George. But I can ask John if there's any updates that I can share.
Yeah, and I was just, that was just a general comment that as a citizen, I would advocate you supporting an aggressive, I'm not speaking for the board now, I'm speaking for myself, an aggressive stance in that regard. And I know there's lots of legal issues and blah, 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 but I just think it's time to get that settled.
Yeah.
Well, I was just asking for more citizen input from residents of South Thomaston, so I will take that as a comment.
Yeah, I'm just watching what's on the village soup. It seems like there's a debate between St. George and RSU 13 on the amount. And both sides are claiming that they need more information. So it is an interesting conundrum.
Yeah, but it's 6 years now.
I know.
What can you tell us about student outcomes, good or bad, especially in light of the hybrid models that they had in effect, and
Graduation rates.
what do we think the damage is, if any? And I know a couple of graduates that there might have been no COVID as far as they were concerned, but and just when you get your town report, you will read 3 pages from John in 10-point fonts, and they may even be 8. And he doesn't mention students in any way, shape, or form. So you might want to tell him that yes, we're interested in where our tax money goes, but I personally am more interested in student outcomes and how we're doing with setting them up to be lifelong learners, that kind of thing. So policy changes that you guys have made, and what's your observation on the academic progress of our student body?
Yeah, okay. So I am on a student engagement task force with Lauren Andrews and some other people from nonprofit organizations. So I hear a bit about students' well-being from that. And it does seem like obviously this year has been really difficult for a lot of our students. And I'm sure, South Thomaston students among them in terms of overall well-being. I think that in addition to academic outcomes, there's that issue of socialization and, being able to sort of not feel isolated. So I do think that it probably has had a profound impact on our students. In terms of academic outcomes, I don't have a ton of hard data, but if you go back and there is, on our Vimeo page with all the recordings of the school board workshops, Stephanie Tribo, the assistant superintendent and curriculum director, she gave a really good report out on our test results and kind of how they might be indicative of dips in academics, particularly around math and reading, as a result of the rockiness of the pandemic for learning, and it was really interesting to see. You could definitely see from the 2019, and this was a couple months ago, so you'll have to go back and look at that recording to get the specifics, but you can definitely see from the non-pandemic kind of test scores to especially the fall of 2020, there did seem to be an impact where people were sort of below, classes, grade levels were kind of falling behind in certain skills at certain levels. So I think, K1 was affected in particular, and I think third or fourth grade math, there was another substantial sort of noticeable sort of, as much as you can glean from test results, which obviously are not the entire academic picture of a student. The pandemic did put some students back in terms of those skills. But then they did have some more data that looked like students were recouping that a bit this school year. So I think the harm to student learning was most acutely felt in the spring before I was on the school board, just sort of from all the reports from other school board members, from teachers, from students, and from kind of the data that someone like Stephanie could show us. And then over the summer, I think, depending on a student's sort of learning opportunities over the summer too, that equity issue. Some students were coming in the fall of this year, the fall 2020, further behind than they should have been as a result of the pandemic. I do think that the schools have done a pretty good job trying to catch those students up. And again, in that recording, Stephanie has a lot of interesting information about these different projects that they're working on. There's this particular math pilot program to give people, to really catch those students up on those kind of, particularly the math skills and the literacy that students have fallen behind in. So I haven't, I'm not a classroom teacher, but from what I've gathered from being on the school board and from knowing classroom teachers in this district, there has been an impact from the pandemic, particularly because of the chaos of last spring and the sudden rollout of remote learning. But it does seem like the hybrid model is working for many students, if not most students. I'm sure there are individual students who are struggling with that. And I know that it's probably harder in the high school, where class time is limited due to the sort of cohorting effect. But I think we're doing okay. I don't want to be like, I don't know, it's a pandemic, but from what I've heard, we seem to have gotten, the students seem, and the teachers all seem to have kind of hit a stride and kind of been able to get some of that, recalibrate and kind of get back on track a little bit. And I know that from being on that student engagement task force, that there are a lot of people working with the students who are falling through the gaps to make sure that those students, can make up things. And I know that they have plans for the summer, summer schooling, sort of summer, the camp they're going to run to kind of help catch people up too. So that's a really long answer with not a lot of hard data, but I would point you to that workshop that Stephanie Tribo gave if you're interested in knowing from a testing perspective what it looks like the impact of COVID has been so far.
So you have one more assignment for us, or actually for South Thomaston, which I think you know about, which is you're part of the team that awards scholarships from the Hopkins bequest. And in the next few minutes, we're going to tell you how much money you have to spend to give out. So, so you glad you did? You glad you stepped forward last year at town meeting for this 3-year adventure? Okay.
It's been a lot of work, and I've had some transition personally with new jobs and such. So it has been feeling like I'm constantly running sort of to catch up with all the other school board members in my understanding. Before you go on to the Hopkins scholarship, I did want to say, addressing the state, I think there was maybe a question from you, John, about the 55% and whether that was applicable to this year's budget. I believe, and you could follow up with Pete in the business office, but I believe that some school districts have chosen to kind of gauge that into their budget this year, but the decision was made not to, from kind of a conservative financial standpoint of not having the money in hand and not knowing exact amounts and how it would all fall out. I think the formulas and all that from the state are very wonky from my understanding. So yes, that does mean that I think that taxpayers are kind of paying a little bit more than they might have a little bit more. And I actually think that from what Pete said, we were already almost at that 55% in terms of what we were getting from the state, probably because of some of the formulas for the towns for the subsidies. But there might have been a little bit more money from the state if we had kind of tried to factor it in. But it seemed like that, yeah, they felt like it was probably better to wait and factor it in when they had sort of an understanding that we wouldn't end up sort of on the hook for anything. So.
John?
I would just say too, everyone needs to remember that 55% is a state average. Some districts get 90% of their budgets funded by the state, and other richer districts get 5% funded by. So that's something. It doesn't mean each district gets 55%. So, anyways, okay, thank you.
Do you mind if I just screen share and show you, or I can email you this document that Pete gave me? I think it'll do a much better job explaining than I can these numbers. But if we don't have time now, if you want to move on to the Hopkins scholarship, I can email you this. I don't think it's on the business office website.
I'd prefer the email, and that way we can study it.
Okay.
Yes, me too.
I'll email it to you all.
Okay. So the scholarship is tied to this, and then we'll go back to the change order and the donation, if that's okay with everyone. The interesting thing here is looking at this the old way, we have $445 to give out from the Ralph and Ella Ratcliffe Fund, and $14,827 from the major fund. But the fact is that the 10-year restrictions on the principal lapsed 2 years ago. So the trustees could, in fact, give out all $343,000 from the big bequest, all in one lump sum, which would send two and a half students for 4 years to Lane and my alma mater, which just tells you something about what's happened to private school tuitions over since Hopkins died in 2008. Thoughts, John and Jan, about how you want to proceed?
Well, actually, I have a question. I don't understand, and perhaps you don't either. Was it correct that no scholarships were given out last year? Is that correct?
I do believe that's the case, but I don't remember for sure.
Okay, because of the COVID and all that, and
Cheryl was part of the board, I think, last year.
Right, because we didn't have a school board rep. So Cheryl, did she do it twice or just once? If she did it last year, then they gave out scholarships last year.
It's a great question, John, and we should know the answer.
Well, I guess where I'm really going with this is I don't understand why there's such a disparity and I agree with you, Walter, we could spend anything we want at this point, although I have absolutely no interest in doing that.
Neither do I.
But I don't understand why there's such a disparity between the two funds. I mean, one's $445 and it's roughly a third the size of the other one, where there's almost $15,000. So something's, I don't know, just red flags are going up in my head, and I don't understand that difference and what's going on.
Yeah, and the funny thing,
and I wish I did.
the funny thing is the way the will was written, the somewhere along the line, it says that if the big fund got drawn down to almost nothing, that it would be consolidated with the smaller one. And you look at the numbers and you say, no, it's gone the other way. So,
Well, and the other question I had, I was curious if scholarships were awarded last year and they weren't claimed because of COVID or something, is part of that 14,827, for lack of a better word, obligated to someone? So I just feel like I have lots of unanswered questions that I didn't have time to get to before tonight, but.
Terry has a question.
Terry, sorry.
I don't see any signs that any check were written for scholarships last year. I don't see any applications that came in for scholarships. And the one year we gave out $10,000 in scholarships, and we gave out most of them from the littler fund as opposed to the big fund. And I don't know why, but we did.
When we say little, are we talking about Ratcliffe?
Yes, that's a
Yeah,
small.
that's the one with $100,000 principal as opposed to 328.
But there isn't really any reason that we couldn't combine those two in one scholarship, though. Is that correct?
The will has I think the will has the terms by which that would happen. I don't think we can do anything about that.
Yeah, but I mean, what I mean, I guess, is not combined maybe, but we could give one student the culmination of two scholarship funds into one scholarship amount. So if we wanted to give a student $5,000 or something like that, two students $5,000, we could pull from both of those funds to create that $5,000 scholarship.
I think they have to be of the fund, like one has to be given in the name of Eller and.
Right.
Right.
Two different checks would be written.
Right. And I think they just spent I think they just spent all the income of that small one, that they got carried away that year with the applicants they had, and they gave it to everybody that applied.
They are probably us. Jeff?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't we just setting a dollar amount and it's up to the committee to determine how many and how much? And
Yes, yeah, exactly. We have no say over that part. Jeff?
Can I throw a wet blanket on this? Have you got the applications yet?
No, I have Sue Snow calling me every day saying, how much money are you giving?
And you got to have the names to them by Friday.
Yes. I told her we were talking about it tonight and I would call her tomorrow.
Yeah. So if you're just setting an amount and you're expecting a committee to meet tomorrow, then maybe something will happen. But the reality is, if you don't have the applications in hand and the committee ready to determine them, you're going to be late to the game. Her no kidding late date is January 1st, but she wants the numbers by Friday. They're making presentations soon. They're gonna do the presentations virtually and online, and students are gonna click for each of the different scholarships, and it'll say, yes, you are a winner, and this is how much you've been awarded. And then you give them a certificate on how to collect the money. So if you're just now doing this, you're late to the game. Personally, that's my opinion.
Well, I'm at a loss. My understanding from the will is that the superintendent, the principal of Oceanside High School, and Lane sit down and decide who gets what from South Thomaston.
That's the way it reads.
Right. So have you been told to be at a meeting tomorrow or Friday to award scholarships?
No. I have no idea what the timeline is, so I was just sort of waiting to.
Yeah, and Sue is the one would be driving this. So she's not going to push it to them until she has the information.
So all she wants to know is how much.
Yep, probably.
All
So
right.
we as a select board don't get the applications. That goes to this.
No, right.
We
Right,
just
okay.
don't know how much is
We
available.
have no role in that process.
I know, but Jeff was just saying if we don't have the applications already, that,
Yeah, I was assuming that you guys as the overseers of those funds, you were actually doing the selection.
No, we have nothing to do with that.
Wow.
But it doesn't sound like Lane and the other reps have it.
What they have to do is come back to us and verify that a scholarship check was written to so-and-so in such and such an amount, and that is consistent with the terms of the trust.
So they actually write the check?
Yeah,
No,
no, we do.
we write the check.
We write the check.
Sue just needs an amount tomorrow. How much?
That's all.
That's all she wants to know.
what did we award the year before?
Thought I brought that, John, but let me see, I did bring that.
I really think we should be consistent and make it, and I'll just throw $10,000 out there and say it's a $10,000 scholarship every year. And, until it's gone. I mean, I don't know why we would sit every year and try and do a different amount, for example, or it ought to just be this much, and this is it's a $10,000 scholarship, or it's two $5,000 scholarships. I mean, I don't care how we divide it up, but
We don't do that. Didn't we just determine we don't do that? We just,
No, yeah, we don't do that.
In
we
20,
don't select the scholarship awardee. We select the amount of money then.
right, but they could divide it 100 ways if they wanted to.
They could. That's
Okay.
right. You're right.
and it's going to depend on how many applicants you get. You have to be
Right.
a high school student, but in 2018, $10,000 was awarded, 6,000 from Radcliffe and 4,000 from Hopkins.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We award $10,000 from Hopkins.
I second the motion.
And we'll leave the 445 alone for now.
Yes.
Yeah. Clever. Make it easy. Okay. It's been moved and seconded. John?
Discussion, I am concerned, though, that Lane hasn't been notified about this, and I'm not sure that I think our representative should be involved in this, and it's required under the terms of the will, if I understand correctly, and I just don't want the staff, this to just become strictly a staff decision up there.
Agree.
Yeah, no, the process is those three meet and make the decisions. They
Yeah,
review
but
the applicants.
she's told us she's heard nothing about this.
Well,
So-
there's that. So,
I will reach out to, you said it was the high school principal, right? So I'll reach out to Jesse and John. Right?
Or
That's
Sue Snow, who's the guidance secretary, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, Sue's the guidance secretary.
And she's also a resident of South Thomaston, too.
So
Okay.
if there's one applicant, and I should have asked her this when I was talking to her, but I didn't think of it. So if there's one applicant, they're going to get $10,000?
why
I
not?
can tell you, there are more applicants.
Okay, good.
But I think the answer to your question, Terry, is yes.
Okay,
We offer $10,000, and how it's divided up would be up to Lane and the other members. And
okay.
if there's only one applicant, then they would get the full amount.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
10 applicants, it's $1,000 a piece.
Yep,
Or
okay.
there may even be applicants I would envision that don't qualify at all. I don't know. Does everyone apply, get something?
That's up to
It's up to those three people.
Right.
it's probably like a fraternity initiation. They probably don't share what they, who they blackballed with anybody else. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, John?
Aye.
Jan?
Aye.
Walter's in favor as well. So Lane, your go-do is to go find out when you're gonna have that meeting.
I'll go email Sue Snow. And before I leave, I did just want to say I'll send you all the documents, but I did find the summary of what South Thomaston's part of the budget is. It looks like it is that 3.4 million, because our total contribution is 3.89, and then you minus the 400,000. So I'll send you the documents, but.
Could you send them to me too, Lane? Thank you.
Thanks.
So again, it's $19,800 a student. Plus, that's without adding the 400,000 in there.
Yeah, and I have some thoughts on on how we fund public education, but I don't know that as a school board member, I'm the one with the power for some of that revenue raising and such.
It just amazes me. That's $20,000 a student. I'm thinking, wait a minute. That's a pretty good private school education.
That's why St. George separated.
Yeah, well,
it's critical mass.
I don't think you'll find that out of line.
Oh,
yeah.
no,
And it is distributed differently, right? You know, it falls on taxpayers differently. So those who have $1 million homes, there's kind of a difference in what you owe towards the community. But yeah, it's been really interesting. Maybe this is overshare, but it's been really interesting being on the school board and realizing that if I wanted to change how the budget works, I'd actually have to be in the state legislature, figuring out how taxes are, and how much of the state budget goes towards public education. That's where the real power seems to lie.
And you can't change it there either.
No, and it seems to be stymied at every turn there. So I don't know. It's really frustrating, but yeah. I do think our district offers our students a very good education. Maybe I'm biased because I'm the person who raised my hand to be on the school board, but.
yeah, but I'm with Walter. I'd like to see the output. Show me the product at the other end. How many graduates do we get?
All right. Well, Lane, thank you very much. And go do the scholarship thing and have a great summer.
All right. See you all. Thank you.
Walter,
Yep.
could we do Amy? She's on call. She's afraid she might get a call and have to leave.
Okay. What are we doing? We're doing the Comstar?
Yep.
Okay, well, first thing is we should have shipped that agreement off to Kristen post haste. I would suggest. Do you agree?
I found it very well done and very fair, and we can terminate it. Either party can terminate it in 60 days. I was very, very pleased with it. And I personally am ready to approve it. So we can get on the exchange.
I agree.
Okay.
I think that I think there's a number of towns that work with them locally that have found them very reputable. I've done a little bit of chatting around, and I'm ready to move on it so we can get this transition as smooth as possible so we don't lose time. And if problems come up, I think we could negotiate an amendment. And if we can't, we'll have to look elsewhere in our 60 days. But and I don't think there's a lot of choices.
I don't either. Hi, Amy.
So
All right. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. We execute the agreement immediately, effective with an effective date of July 1st.
I second the motion.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Amy, do you have your hand up?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. All in favor?
Ac-
Jan?
ac- Just, Walter, sorry, one minor thing. I would like to see them from the beginning, and they mentioned it, send with their bills our hardship waiver form. So we get in that habit right out of the gun. So
They're going to do that. They will
I think
do
we
that.
struggled to get Tammy to do that, but at times. Sorry.
What's that form?
Our hardship waiver form, when we bill a person,
Mhm.
not a third party, but when we actually send a bill to them, we send this form that we've developed over the years that we've never really used that allows them to apply for
Right.
either in whole or in part. It's a simple form. It's a self-verification form, but we never really have gotten that system, to my knowledge, up and running right. But
And then sooner or later, it becomes a write-off. Okay, it's been moved and seconded and discussed, and all in favor, Jan?
Audio aye.
John?
Spear, aye?
Right side. Okay, we have a new vendor.
Amy, I just want to add that you looked marvelous on TV the other morning. EMS Day.
Yeah,
Nice job.
thanks. Thank you.
And thanks for your work on the FEMA stuff, Amy.
Right.
Yes.
Could I ask Amy, are you leaving us? Do you have to leave?
No, why?
Well, because you said you might get it, you're not planning to leave, it's just if you get a call?
Correct.
Okay, because I was hoping, when we discussed the ARP funds, I was hoping that you would be on.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. Thanks.
All right, let's jump back up to the Gartley-Andorski change order.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the change.
We do.
I so move.
I second.
The second iteration's better than the first, but he still doesn't document things the way Kristen does. Guess he's an engineer, not a lawyer.
Well, there's also 2 typos in it still.
I got one where he spelled my name right after 2 attempts.
That's the second one. But the first one at the very top, it says change order 3. At the very, very top.
Yeah, my copy says change order 1.
At the very, very top?
Yep, civil change order 1 memorandum.
Mine says 3.
And then in the subject line, it says Island Road, South Thomason, Civil Services. And there's the spelling error, CIVIL, change order number 1.
Yeah, I see that, but I'm talking right up under the heading.
Yeah, it says number 1 on mine. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, mine says 3, and I assume.
Somebody earlier, he had a 3, and didn't somebody go back and say it was an error and he fixed it?
That was John.
Yeah, I did. I didn't get it. Oh, we got a new one since then?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't get that, but he still didn't get Walter's name right. I do have a comment on this.
On mine, he did get Walter's right.
Okay. Well, obviously, I don't have the latest copy, but I do have a comment, though. Of the additional costs, most of this is result of sort of backtracking and doing the revisions and all the extra meetings and stuff.
Yep.
But some of it isn't. And it's related to easement coordination. I actually called Andrew because I had concerns about that. He said that's a category he used kind of broadly. Some of that was, meeting with landowners about where property was and so on and so forth. And I said to him, well, wouldn't that be typical in any project? And he indicated that, yes, it would be. And so I was a little like, well, why wasn't that in the original contract? And, he said, well, you never really know what it's going to be. And so I'm a little, that's $1,800. The bulk of it is the revisions and stuff. I mean, it's not a hill to die on for me, but I was a little disappointed that the original contract didn't sort of call that out as a potential fluid cost, if you will. But I'm going to vote for it.
So who made the motion?
I did.
All
I
right.
moved and John seconded.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I asked him to send us his best cut at revised cost estimates for the project, which he said he'd do by tomorrow. All in favor, John?
Spear, aye.
Jan?
Audio aye.
Walter, aye. Okay. We have a donation to accept for the cemetery.
I move we accept the $100 donation for the cemetery from Sandra Williams.
Second the motion.
Okay. I guess this is an annual event. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, Jan?
Audio aye.
John?
Aye.
Walter, aye. Okay. ARP fund rules and possible uses. Which document are people working from?
I'm working from several documents.
Say again, I'm sorry.
I'm working from several documents. Several.
Go ahead, John. Lead it off.
Well, I asked for this to be on the agenda because I do think we need to start having a discussion about this, and it ties in somewhat, I think, potentially to the broadband discussion later on in the agenda. It's already been a long evening, so, but I did take the time last night and read the interim rule and all the introductions to that. I previously had read the actual legislative sessions. I would, couple of the thoughts that I had is I would like to talk or email, and I think Amy is still here. Maybe she isn't. I guess she's gone. But I'd like to get their input, particularly Amy's, about maybe some, oh, she is here, about maybe some things we could do to kind of reach out to people that have been in, that are sort of with sort of health related issues, or find out if we should be doing that. I think that's a use that we, and vaccination, if for lack of a better word, counseling, if we have hesitancy or something like that. But I would be interested in hearing her thoughts and thoughts about preparing for the future. I also think it's possible we could do some ventilation work at the town office. That's a potential. I also read with interest the Rockland District Nursing report the other day, and they've been really stretched by this and have upped their game a lot and are looking for some funding. And I would be interested in learning a little bit more about what they've done for South Thomaston. And I'm also, quite frankly, interested in this premium pay idea for very low wage workers who worked through the pandemic on the front lines, put themselves at risk. I'm talking about people like nursing home residents of South Thomaston that are nursing home CNNs or CNNs, again, all residents of South Thomaston, CNNs at Penn Bay. If there's some way we could recognize that effort, even if it ended up not being particularly financially significant, but just at least a recognition that they put themselves out there through this entire pandemic and and put those services. So those are some of the things I was thinking about as I read the document. Obviously, there's the broadband discussion. And also I'd like to see if we could recoup our lost ambulance revenue from last year. So those are the thoughts that kind of initially came to my head. And I think we need to, we probably want to start to have a bigger discussion and gather some information. So that's where I'm coming from at this point.
Jan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board with John's comments. I mean, I think anything that we can use those funds for, that would benefit the citizenry of South Thompson, we should look to do that. I mean, I do support the 5,000 for the broadband study from that account, but I think there are some other opportunities. I agree with John. I didn't read it in quite the same detail, but I did read through it, and I think the ventilation issue could be something that we could use that money for. Obviously we may be stretching a little to tie it into COVID, but it is a health issue, certainly, within the town office, the municipal building. So I'm on board, John. You didn't say anything I wouldn't sign up to.
Yeah, first place I went was make up for the ambulance revenue deficiency, and then I said, "Boy, that's really cold." Now let's go focus on human beings and helping them out.
But that's helping the taxpayer.
Well,
and that's one of the,
I never thought of the fact that we have when I think of our first responders, I think of our fire guys and our ambulance people. But John brought up another category of people that are in healthcare that live here but don't work for the town, and that would be it's something interesting to pursue.
Well, and Betty once before brought up the fact of childcare people. We have a couple of childcare facilities in our town, and those were kind of frontline people as well that continue to operate and be open. So
yeah. I wasn't limited to just to healthcare. I was talking about any sort of essential workers that continue to work through this, put and expose themselves, not just healthcare. I just use those as examples because I think they were the sort of textbook examples, people that worked in nursing homes and stuff. But
sure.
Plus they're paid very low. Again, and I would be focusing on people that are, in the lower income scale, not the nursing home administrator.
So how should we proceed in categorizing and prioritizing the look-sees?
I didn't get that far myself. I would like to hear Amy's thoughts about, even if she just did sort of some free association, and then we can figure out whether it's eligible or not. But
we just lost her again.
Says she keeps getting kicked out.
Yeah. I'd volunteer to draft an email to her if that's acceptable to you too.
Sure.
Okay. Jan?
It's like the current vaccination program.
Yeah.
Is that like an all volunteer effort by the three departments?
Yeah, they had a clinic today down in St. George.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But I think the low hanging fruit, anybody who's willing and able, I think has pretty much gotten one. I think it's reaching out now to people, whether there's shut-ins or, and I don't know how to go about that, but I think that's what these funds are, part of these funds can be used for. And maybe it's not the ambulance, maybe it's the Rockland District Nursing Association that we work with, or I don't know. At this point, I'm just thinking sort of at 20,000 feet.
Well, I think you've created a straw man, John, that would allow us to sort of put some structure with it. We still haven't seen that money, right? And that hasn't shown up yet. So, but I think putting together a list And maybe prioritizing it in advance would be, worth some effort.
Anybody know how the government's going to verify that we made appropriate use of the funds? Because I haven't been able to find that in any of the readings that I've done. And Jeff has his hand up.
Yeah. So that's the root of my question is which federal agency is handling this process?
Treasury.
Treasury.
That doesn't help.
There's an interim, they published an interim rule in the Federal Register, and there are some items in there about reporting on how you did it. And there is a process for recoupment. So, I mean, I think we need to be careful about that. I suspect MMA will be providing some guidance as well as the state, because remember, as a non-entitlement unit of local government, which we are, our money comes through the state.
Right.
So, and I guess the other thing that we do, whatever we do, I think we should keep it simple. and not get it tied up in a lot of bureaucratic, snafus, if you will. But
yeah, except that it's going through the state, so that kind of cancels that.
And actually I didn't see it there. I have heard that any plan that we use, and I don't know at what level of detail, has to be approved by town meeting or your legislative body, but I didn't see that in there anywhere.
No.
Anywhere. So I'm looking forward to MMA issuing some guidance. I'm hoping they will.
I thought I read that in the May 10th, 2021 thing that MMA put out.
I did. I did too, but I didn't see it in the interim rule.
MMA put something out late this afternoon. I didn't really get a chance to look at it because I was.
Oh, okay.
I was
Good.
gonna come home and hope I got YouTube going.
All right, well, this is going to be on every agenda until we spend all the money, obviously. Okay, town meeting prep. I guess the first thing is where?
Yeah. Well, I guess my thoughts is I'm leaning more toward the Ash Point School again. I mean, I think I lived through both the town meetings at both places. I think the acoustics were a little rugged at Ash Point, but I don't think we really had tested the sound system ahead of time. If I remember, it was kind of last moment. But they do have an in-house PA system, with speakers in the room and so on. And I think if we set it up right, it'll work, and it'll save us the cost of hiring a sound guy. They did provide chairs because I was over there and helped go and set them up. They've got lots of chairs that we wheeled in and put in place. So logistics wise, I think it's much simpler than the airport. And airport, we got to stand up and tear down the same night. We got to clean behind ourselves. I mean, there were several issues there that logistically I think would be challenging. But I'm kind of open to you guys too. I mean, what do you think, Tara?
I think the school would be incredibly awesome and a whole lot easier, but they are limiting us to 100 people.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little unsure. I saw your email on that. Where does that come from?
The school, the assistant superintendent, the schools have different rules because they're schools.
Yeah, but this really isn't a school function. This isn't, I mean, the school complies when there's students, there's certain rules, but this is an after hours, the only thing at school is the building. So I'm a little uncertain that would apply.
Well, it did seem strange to me. She said you don't have to social distance, but that's the capacity that can be in that gym at this time.
But
I'm also not sure.
That's not the governor's rule, though.
That's
No.
true.
When did you talk to her, Terry? Today? Because as of yesterday, the indoor limit is the capacity.
Not in
And
school.
The capacity is 300. The schools are exceptions?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, the,
But I agree with Jan. Is this a school function, even though it's in a school building? But on the other hand, it's their building.
right.
Even said that, I'm not sure we would exceed 100 people. That would be a very unusual town meeting.
Well, we did last year, and I don't think we had anywhere near the controversy.
We didn't have over 100 people last year.
No, we came near that though.
75?
79, something like that.
Yeah.
I think we could easily exceed 100 this year.
so what's the capacity of the airplane hangar?
They don't have the school rules.
I was going to say, yeah. Different rules, I think.
I agree with everything Jan said, but I think at this point we have no choice.
They wouldn't shut us down, would they?
Who?
School, if we ended up with 110 people.
They're probably, if it's like the last time, there wouldn't even be anybody there from the school. We had a janitor there when we set up the last time. I mean, there was no school representative.
I just wouldn't be comfortable taking that risk.
So you're leaning toward the airport, John?
Well, I am, unless we still have some time left. Unless we could get some clarification from the school. I mean, I would much prefer to do it at the school. But, you know, and I don't know that the curriculum director at RSU 13 is the expert on the rules. But on the other hand, I mean, how much time do we actually have? When we meet again, it's too late, right?
Right.
Maybe we should talk to the superintendent's office and sort of get a read on, you know, where the rules apply and do they apply to a town meeting in a school?
What's the absolute latest date we could sign the warrant, realistically?
Has to be posted 7 days.
June 7th.
Yeah, but that's pushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you
Right.
sign
Well,
it at a public hearing?
Well, that's what I was wondering, if we could maybe sign the warrant at if it's already except for the location, if we could actually execute it at the public hearing, but June 7th is legally, that's enough time, but practically that's too close.
You're talking about
What public hearing?
The one on the Gilbert Butler and not the public hearing, but the public information meeting. I think that's what you're referring to, Terry.
For the Island Road?
Oh, June 1st.
Isn't that June 1st?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a public hearing, but yeah.
Information meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, that would work. And that would give us some time to investigate this.
I mean, you can make the decision and I can have it ready for you to sign first thing on the 2nd and then get it posted shortly
All right. How about Terry, you call Peter and I will call John McDonald, see if we can get a straight answer out of one of them.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
That would be much preferable.
Yeah. Easier logistics all the way around. Okay, now we're on old business. The first of which is the interlocal agreement.
Yeah, these are the warrant articles that we want, that we had a draft warrant article for the interlocal agreement.
Yeah, and they're fine from my standpoint.
Yeah, I was comfortable with basically asking the town to authorize us, the select board, or you, the select board, to move forward with an interlocal agreement, based on our own discretion. And all the discussion I've seen since then, the emails that have flown back and forth, the Thomaston discussion, kind of reconfirmed the fact that I like that, the way that warrant was worded, that article was worded.
John,
I'm willing to put it on as to keep that door open. But I, after reading Kristen's review of the interlocal again and some other things, I can't remember what it was I wrote. It's getting late.
Paul Gibbons has weighed in as well.
Yeah, he's the attorney for Thomaston.
There are 3 lawyers that I know of that have picked the thing apart. Phil Saucier from Bernstein Sure, Paul Gibbons, and Kristen.
I thought Phil was the one who wrote it. Is that not correct?
That I don't know.
That was my understanding.
I think Deborah Hall is an attorney herself, so I think she was instrumental in the drafting of it.
But yeah,
he's Saucier's he's Rockport's attorney. Sorry, John.
Yeah, but I'm more and more concerned with that interlocal agreement. And I really wish, as Kristen said in her letter, that this had come to being the way a typical interlocal agreement would, is people would come to the table initially, and I really wish. So what if I wish? Doesn't matter. I wish it was a Knox County-wide initiative and blah blah blah. But I mean, at this point in time, I personally couldn't support signing that interlocal agreement as drafted, and I think the chances of getting it amended are probably pretty slim. I also had a fairly long discussion with the city manager in Rockland. And similar concerns we talked about, and I know but I'm willing to leave it on the article, just to leave it on the warrant to keep the door open. But
yeah, I would like to see us go ahead with the study that's proposed, the $5,000 for our buy-in to that study, and leave the door open. But I think, and I know I'm the lame duck here, but I mean, I think there is some time, there is some wiggle room. And if it's up to the select board, if we don't like the deal, we don't have to buy into it. And I think that's what we're asking the town to give us, is that flexibility.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess my only concern is, why go spend $5,000 if we're not willing to sign that interlocal, and we're being told that in some of the emails that I read from Deborah, I think it was, that there won't be an opportunity to amend it in the short term. So are we just kind of throwing $5,000 away? Helping them with the study.
I think the study, John, would be beneficial for the town, knowing, where we have broadband, where we have access, where we don't. I mean, I think there's value in that. I mean, it was interesting to listen to the discussion tonight. I would take that study if, for example, if we didn't go with the coalition or the interlocal agreement, and go to Spectrum and say, okay, deliver. Yeah, they talked a good talk tonight, but I'm very skeptical that they would deliver it.
Yeah, they're like a car company that doesn't want to go to electric. even though the future is staring them in the face. But I agree with Jan. I think we will get value out of the 5,000. That will last beyond, even if we don't go into the interlocal agreement. We'll have $5,000 worth of learning.
Yeah, and I would propose that to come from the ARP funds, you know, which is a justifiable use of that money. So I mean, we're not asking the taxpayers to, you know, fund that money. The town.
That's what the warrant says. But being the good fiscal conservative that I am, it's all taxpayer money.
Well, it's other people's money, that's for sure. As I call it.
I'm willing to leave the two on. I'm not saying that I'm willing to support it at town meeting. But it's 15 days away, and the way the world changes these days.
Well, I think,
All
John,
right.
it'd be pretty awkward if we put it on there and then you stand at town meeting and say, I don't support it.
Well, we do that with the override.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, review MMA advice regarding amending town meeting articles.
I also asked for this to be on. I also asked for this to be on. I was concerned, Walter, that, well, I'm going to be quite frank. When you said we should, I don't know how I actually worded it, but we should request the moderator not to allow it. I don't know what it is because we haven't had an amendment proposed yet. But assuming that it is, I guess what I'm going to say is I agree that if someone came into that town meeting and said, I'd like to amend Article 12 to raise $450,000 to buy a fire truck, that the moderator should disallow that. But that's his decision, not our decision. And I would agree if someone made a motion that would be a substantive change and the voters wouldn't be forewarned. And I guess I agree that if someone went in and made a motion to change to amend that article to raise $80,000 to tear Guilford Butler down, the existing school, I would agree that if I was a moderator, I would say that's a substantive change and I wouldn't allow that. Of course, I can always be overturned by the body. And I probably would even agree that if someone made a motion, no, I would agree that if someone made a motion to change that article to read to form a committee to fundraise to renovate the building, that would be a substantive change, and I would be against that. If someone, however, made a motion that something to the effect that said that this does not preclude the committee from considering renovation, I guess I would not see that as a substantive change. And I think it's up to the moderator to make that decision on whether it is or it isn't. And then he, as Mike has always done, and hopefully he would as well, say that the body could overrule him. So I guess the bottom line is I don't feel it's our job as a Board of Selectmen to coach the moderator or request the moderator or whatever the word is or coax him or whatever
That's fine. If the moderator, though, allows what I consider to be a substantive change in violation of the law, because remember, the advisory here is that this is rooted in the law, then I would raise an objection to the moderator.
Sure.
And from my standpoint, if that went forward, that would not be the last you heard from me.
Well, and I think it all boils down to is what, I agree with you, it's the law, but what is substantive? I mean, if someone got up and made a motion to say, let's limit the committee to 7 people, would that be substantive? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. But again, that's
right.
The moderator would have to.
That's where the moderator has discretion.
Yeah. And then, of course, the body can overrule them. And then, of course, it can be appealed to court.
I mean, as you know, as far as the Articles 10 and 11, among other things, Jan and I wrote them, so we kind of know what was in our heads and what the intent was.
Yeah.
And the intent was for those articles to be the recommendations of your committee, pure and simple, and only the recommendations of your committee.
I understand that.
So anything that comes in that's not one of the recommendations of your committee, to me, is a substantive change to the article.
Okay, and that's fine. You can obviously have that opinion, and I can have a different opinion. But again, my point is that's the moderator's job, not our job. That's my feeling. And I mean, he or she is an elected official with certain duties.
Yep.
And but anyways, and the other thing is, I'm concerned that if a motion that is not, in my mind, substantive is not allowed, then I'm afraid the whole thing is going to get voted down. And we're going to lose another year.
Well,
so
hey, this came about because I'm reading the municipal officers manual, and I stumbled upon that one thing, and that one thing started me thinking, gaming out the town meeting. What are the two things that I'm concerned about? Island Road being one, Guilford Butler being the other. Then I went to MMA and said, hey, tell me about this paragraph here. And they came back with this advisory.
Yeah, no, I know. And I would agree with you on Island Road. I don't think there's anything on the warrant that's even closely related to Island Road.
No, I know, but
But even
my thought process in creating scenarios was what was going to come out of left field.
Yeah. But again, even in that case, I still think that's the moderator's call, not our call.
Well, I think, John, as you point out, even if we don't like the moderator's decision, the body can override the moderator. So
right, yeah, and that's when I first talked to Dave way back. He asked me to send him a copy of the draft agenda, which I did. I don't know which version it was at this time. It was so long ago, but and I told him that Mike in the past had used the main moderator's manual, and he said that's what he uses as well, and that has that provision where the body can overrule him. So I think that's a good thing. So okay, I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. It sounds like we are. I mean, we disagree on maybe what's substantive, but I guess we agree on process.
Actually, we probably don't agree. We probably don't disagree on what's substantive, actually. Okay. I said that's all I wanted. That's the only reason I wanted it on the agenda. Okay, so rewrite the question of the solar farm ordinance. Yeah, that came in Kristen's email to us.
yeah, I don't have that in front of me, but
She said we should change it to shall an ordinance entitled 2021 solar amendment to the land use ordinance be enacted.
Oh, this is,
And ours on the draft warrant is slightly different because it was a standalone at that time. Unless you've already changed it, Terry. Can't hear you.
I changed it on the one that I put in your packet. So Article 9 is just what Kristen said.
oh. Which article is it, Terry?
9.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
On the previous warrant version, I saw that hadn't been changed, so.
And we're fine with the interlocal agreement articles, both of them. Yes?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. And when we vote to execute the warrant, that would approve them, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Discount. Did we answer the question about July 1st?
Whether we wanted to use that as the date to sign the warrant?
No, the start of the discount for prepayment of taxes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, July 1st. Never mind.
Well, we haven't agreed on that I remember.
No.
We haven't, but I changed it in the draft because I'm assuming that you will.
No. You're giving us our marching order, Terry. That makes perfect sense to me because it just aligns it with the fiscal year that we've.
Yeah, it makes sense to me too. I mean, why would people vote on something on the 15th that, oh, it's already gone by? Although I'll be honest with you, I was thinking that maybe once we get through this transition year, Jan, you won't have to worry about it, that maybe we should take a thought about doing away with this entirely. But that's a discussion for another year.
The whole purpose of it was to bring money in, and we shouldn't have that problem anymore because people are going to pay their taxes on time twice a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, and what it does is basically the people that can most afford it can take advantage of it, and the people that can't pay for the discount that the people that can afford it.
Yeah.
Rather than if we borrow from a bank, everybody would pay for it.
Okay. Town meeting location, we're still up in the air. Finalize and certify the ordinances for the town meeting.
Yeah, I saw the two that you sent out just before the meeting here on the planning board and the addressing ordinance, latest versions of that.
Those came from Jeff this afternoon,
Yeah.
yes?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, and I'm good with both of those. I reviewed them before the meeting here.
I think we should take them one at a time, though.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion that we certify the. Do you have them in an order, Terry, somewhere, or?
They were in the order that they show up in the warrant.
Okay, so I'll make. So in order, where am I? I'll start with Article 4. Oh, I haven't seen the last of the I haven't seen 4 and 5 yet, the finals. Were those sent out?
No, I didn't. Didn't I email them out? I didn't print them out and put them in your packet because they're so big.
Yeah, you emailed them out a couple of weeks ago, I think. The land use and the shoreland zone.
Yep.
But these are the ones that Jeff changed after the public hearing? Because we have so many versions floating around here.
I know we have way too many of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought you sent those out yesterday.
Oh, okay. If it's yesterday, I didn't get it then, or I don't have it.
I don't recall seeing them at all.
There would actually be 3. Land use ordinance with just the solar farm. Land use ordinance with all the changes. And then the shoreland zone.
Yes.
And those were changed from the public hearing, after the public hearing.
When did they go out, Terry?
I thought I did them yesterday.
I thought I saw him go out yesterday, actually.
Boy, I just don't.
I'm not finding them.
No, I'm not either, Terry.
I can't look because I'm on my computer.
I'm looking at my other computer, but I see them between Terry and I. I don't see one that goes to everybody. But I thought I did.
Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know how we certify them then. Unless we just want to do it on blind trust here.
Well, we could do it on June 1st.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to.
Well, we can get the other ones out of the way, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I'm okay again with the municipal planning board and the addressing ordinance. Those I've got and have reviewed.
Okay, I make a motion, we certify the June 2021 amendments to the Town of South Thomaston Planning Board ordinance.
I second the motion.
okay, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, John,
Aye?
Jan,
Audio aye.
Walter, I.
I'll make a motion that we certify the ordinance to reestablish the South Thomaston Conservation Commission.
Okay, yeah, that didn't change, so I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, Jan,
Audio aye.
John,
Aye?
right side,
I'll make a motion that we certify the June 2021 amendments to the Town of South Thomaston road naming ordinance.
Second,
any discussion? All in favor, John,
Aye?
Jan,
aye.
Walter, I. Okay,
Can I ask a question? Can we do the shoreland one, or did that have any changes?
It did. What it changed was the Dorothy's Point on the island.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so those inclusions are in the updated version.
Yeah. Okay, so we can't do that one either.
okay, so Terry, if you would add that to the June 1st agenda.
Well, so what does that mean? You need just the land use with solar only, the land use with all the changes, and the shoreland.
Right.
Three, yes. Surely.
Yeah, and Terry, if you would coordinate with Jeff to make absolutely sure you got the latest version.
Yeah, hopefully you're numbering the versions or something so that we can delete the ones we have and not be confused by it.
So can you do the municipal planning board ordinance? That should be in your packet.
We did that, didn't we?
We did.
You did that one?
We just certified that.
Oh, yeah, it's right up, it's on my wrong line. I've got it above that one. So we did the municipal
Conservation and addressing.
and conservation. Okay. Jeff, I will send you those three to make sure I have the right ones, and then after you tell me they're okay, I will. I mean, we kind of did that this afternoon, but we'll do it again.
Yeah, we will.
Well, if you're confident,
Yeah, if Jeff's already looked at it.
Pretty confident.
I'm pretty
Okay.
confident.
all right.
All right, local option vote for the sale of beer, wine, and spirits.
I move we table this to the next agenda.
Okie dokie.
I second.
All in favor, Jan,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Walter, I. This is shaping up as a town meeting 2022 vote. Is that where we're landing on this? Unless we have a special town meeting before that?
No, it has to be done at a referendum.
Oh, that's
So
right.
I'm thinking November or,
That's right. Okay. Ambulance billing we did. Do we have, yes, we do have donations for the tennis courts. $1,000 from Machias, $50 from Bruce and Martha Meyer. Are there motions to accept those?
So moved.
second,
Brings the total to $650. Excuse me. All in favor, Jan?
Aye.
John?
aye.
Walter, aye. Okay, correspondence, I have none. Anybody else? Anything we're missing?
The only thing I saw was that email from Irv Curtis, and I thanked him for keeping us informed.
The one this afternoon, yeah.
Yeah, regarding the concerns, I guess, about the wedding venue, which I had confused with, I had the wedding venue and the art center together, but I guess they're separate things.
I was confused too initially.
Yeah.
So the wedding venue got, went through the whole some approval cycle on December 23rd. But I'm confused about when a hearing, no hearing. I mean, the board met, they voted on all these things. Did something go wrong there in the process?
Terry can probably explain it better than I. I happened to be in the town office when Irv came in today, but there's been a flurry. Terry, you probably should explain it better than because I just happened to have the benefit of the discussion because I just happened to walk in there at the wrong time.
Well, Elizabeth Hilchey and the Carkers over on 131 are the main disgruntled people. They claim there was never a public hearing. Elizabeth feels this was underhanded and snuck in. It has been very difficult to find any information on it, but I put Anna to the task of searching through Mo's computer, and she finally did find an application. She found the septic design. She found designs of the building, but they just feel like there was no public notice, no agendas put out, no minutes. We can't find minutes of when things were approved, what was asked. We did send her 2 YouTube links so that they can watch 2 meetings that the project was discussed.
I went back and read the minutes of December 23rd, and they went chapter and verse down this checklist, and there were all these 5040 votes. I was confused.
Well, they were on the agenda in September and October and November, and there seems to be no connections. We did find a set of minutes for, I guess, the 23rd of December. Urban brought in the checklist that they discussed at that meeting, so I was able to send that to him. I don't know if it's going to help.
Did you ever find a signed permit? Not the application.
I don't know that Mo did permits like John used to do, the square permit that was all colorful, and I don't think she did anything like that. She considered if she signed the application, that was the permit.
Oh, well, this is a planning board problem, yes? We get to have a Chinese wall for the time being?
Right.
What is that?
I think it may end up in our lap.
Yeah, it's not gonna, they're not gonna go away, and it's not gonna end easily. And, you know, some of the problem is I wasn't there, Anna wasn't there. Phil doesn't know. Terry Brackett wasn't there, and trying to find where things were. And I mean, Anna finally did find a bunch of things on Mo's computer that I think will appease them a little, but yeah, they're just.
Terry, can you quickly summarize? I'm not even aware of what the issue is. Somebody wants to have a wedding place, a location, a venue.
They're building a big barn off 131. It's just it's little ways before Maritime Farms. It goes down in that big field.
Yeah,
They're building a big wedding venue there.
I've seen the road.
Yeah. Yeah, they're concerned about noise. How long? What are the hours that they can stay open at night? Traffic.
Yeah, so 85, they have to have parking place for 85 cars. There are a whole bunch of special exceptions, but it's a permitted use, right?
It's a commercial use. It goes to the planning board. No public hearing is required.
Thank you. That's what I said this didn't need a hearing.
But I
No,
think they
it doesn't
held
need a
one.
public hearing. They
They
the
held one.
select, I mean, the planning board does have to hold audience. They have to interview and speak and offer anybody else to say anything. They do not have to do mailings. It's just for a commercial project. They post it with their normal postings. So that checklist that they do serves as the attachment. There should have been a document that says the select board met on this day. They have, not the select board, the planning board. They have issued you a permit with these exceptions that are part of that checklist. And oh, by the way, just in case somebody wants to make a stink about it, if it was done in December, they're late to the game. So their next appeal is to the Board of Appeals, and the Board of Appeals will say, sorry, you're late.
Right.
And so now they're next, and the way it'll end up with you, they do have to go through that process. Otherwise, the courts are not going to hear it. So they would have to try to take it to the Board of Appeals. The Board of Appeals would say, you're late, and you also were not a party to this. And therefore, you have no standing. It would then they could, from the date of that decision, have like 30 days, 45 days to take it to the court system. And that's where the town would be involved.
Sorry,
which is why you guys shouldn't be involved now. So
I've started following this way back last summer, and thought it culminated in December when the planning went. And then I said, "What's this about a hearing? They don't have to have a hearing."
No.
Well,
They had an open posted meeting.
I'm not talking about the merits. The problem is the documentation is not readily accessible, and it's putting Terry and her staff through hell.
Yeah, Ryan's has stepped up with a lot of that, I think.
But all that stuff should be with the clerk and with the town, and it's just not happening and wasn't happening. And that is our responsibility.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Thank you, Jeff. Warrants review and approval. I'll come by tomorrow or Thursday. Terry, if that's okay?
Yep.
All right. Okay, the budget and Butler School meeting. This is going to be interesting. I don't know about you guys, but I have June 3rd, 4th, 7th, and 8th. If we don't do it at town hall, because that's the election day. And that's it.
Well, I can't come if you have it on the 8th, but someone else could take minutes.
We're voting for the RSU 13 budget on the 8th, right?
Right.
Right.
Are we talking about doing it in the fire bay?
Now, again, there's no requirement to distance anymore, so
You think that community room's gonna be big enough?
No, and yeah,
well, you don't think so? It has been in the past for those meetings, but
well,
I don't know.
We had the gravel pit meetings in there and
oh, and we had the first, the two public feedback sessions. Actually, one was in the fire bay and the other one was in the community room. It was packed, but we don't, you know,
I just got a feeling this is gonna be crowded.
So as I'm looking at the June schedule, we had a tentative 10 June select board meeting. We've got the 8th of June, which is the RSU 13 budget vote. We've got the 1st of June, of course, which is the Island Road public meeting. These are the first 2 weeks of June, which leads us up to the town meeting on the Tuesday, the 15th. So I guess one of the first things we probably need to do is find a date.
So we're meeting on the 10th because of the election on the 8th, is that?
yeah, we would have met on the 8th, but we moved it to the 10th.
Boy, given all the business we've had, I'm not sure we should encumber our meeting with this. And you can't really do it on the 7th because you're gonna be all set up in there. Right, Terry?
right.
How about the 9th?
About the 3rd or the 4th.
That enough time for notice?
Yeah. Today's the 25th, it is.
Yeah, I can't do the 4th. I could do the 3rd. That seems like awful short notice.
If the men weren't good enough, it wouldn't be the men.
That would be 9 days if we did it on the 3rd.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that's assuming, I think we need to be conscious about burning Terry out. I've been in office a lot lately and there's a lot going on.
I hear you. If I had my way, we wouldn't hold this meeting.
So 3rd in the fire bay or 3rd in the community room?
The 3rd is the date anyway, right?
Right. Okay, so Terry, when I will send you a how about this, a one-liner, two sentence notice, public meeting to review the change in the fiscal year, the implication on the budget, and 3 of the warrant article, the 3 Guilford Butler school warrant articles. Put it on the web and send it at the email thing and post it. Does that make sense to everybody? And that,
So 6 o'clock on Thursday, the 3rd.
yeah,
And where is this? In the community room?
Well, keep in mind that when we did it in the hangar bay or the fire department bay, we had a sound system.
Yeah, I don't think you need that. But okay, I guess I'm good with that. So it seems like it's the only thing we're gonna get in.
So that's a public meeting, we call that, Guilford Butler School public meeting?
public information session.
Yeah, but it isn't just Guilford Butler. We were gonna talk about the tax and the,
Right. Two tax payments, 18-month fiscal transition. That's why,
yeah.
that's why the
I guess-
budget's so high.
I guess, I'm a little concerned about the size of the room. Penny has told me several times, she anticipates it's gonna be a large crowd. And I also think there's a large contingent of folks. I mean, there's no secret here. This is a controversial issue it seems to have two camps. And I think both sides are gonna try to turn people out. And so I'm a little concerned about the size of the room.
Well, let's use the truck bay then without a sound system.
But Brian's not here. We don't even know if it's available that night. I mean,
Well, it's not Monday night, so it's not his training night,
yeah.
but it is going to require him to back the trucks out and, some inconvenience.
Yeah, it's good practice for backing the trucks out. And maybe they'll get a call like they did last time and really impress everyone.
Yeah, I just hate to see, even with COVID coming the way it is, I would just hate to see us crammed into that community room like sardines.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, let's plan on the truck bay.
Someone want to make a motion to schedule it, or?
You need a motion?
Oh, I don't know, maybe not.
You can make a motion to tell me to have me give Brian the news.
No, I guess we're fine if we don't. So the 3rd at 6 in the fire bay.
Okay,
And really, the agenda needs to go out
tomorrow.
by tomorrow, Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday at the latest.
Okay, that's all doable.
Is it, Terry?
Yep.
He's still smiling through it all.
When I walked in today, all three of them said, all three of us are quitting.
It's been a rough couple days. Between people calling about code enforcement and then people calling about this wedding venue, it's been a little crazy.
That building's is built, isn't it? So Terry, impressed with the content timeliness and improvement on the website.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
There's more to be done, but like.
We're slowly making progress. If there's something you want to be done on it, you just have to let us know, because both Anna and I can do it and we both like doing it.
Yeah, I want to put a squib out talking about the appointments to the technology committee. And take that help wanted down, and then focus on budget and planning board. So I'll give you something on that.
Okay.
All right. Are we going into executive session? Did I ask for this and totally forgot what it was for?
Are we gonna take up the CEO LPI adjustment?
Oh, yes, that's why I have CEO right here.
Yeah. The reason I asked that to be on the agenda is, I think I told you a little bit already. Having walked in the town office today, we really need a CEO. Bad. I mean, there's people coming in there angry at the staff. I mean, Terry Brackett is doing the best he can, but he's got a full-time job. He comes up there. Terry, help me out here. He comes up there every day at 4 or 4:30 and spends a few hours there. He's not getting caught up. People are upset. We need a CEO bad, and I don't know what the solution is.
We have one applicant, right?
Well, we don't even have one, as far as I know.
Yeah, he never sent in his cover letter or references, and he never responded when the last time you asked me to reach out and see if he was interested, and I never heard back from him.
So I don't know if we want to reach out to him with a phone call, and maybe he thinks he sent it and it didn't happen.
I'll call him tomorrow.
Yeah, I would call him, and if he's still interested, offer him the position.
He might be, well, I think we should interview him.
Well, if you want to interview him, fine, but
Well, I think we also maybe should email around to the other towns and see if we can get some suggestions from them. I mean, I don't know what to do, but we've got to do something because.
well, keep in mind that anybody we hire in the first 6 months, they're kind of at-will employees. So if they don't work out,
Exactly.
no harm, no foul. So
Yeah.
I guess I'd rather have somebody sitting in the seat and we evaluate them on the job as opposed to, sitting empty. And
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. And, maybe we'll get lucky and someone will click. But I've been racking my brain for somebody who could do the job. And obviously Terry's talked to John Snow. He has no interest at all.
It was a more definitive than that.
well, Cheryl at one point was interested in the LPI, was it? Terry?
She's going through the training now.
No, she's not.
No longer interested.
No,
Okay.
she's having trouble getting information on where she needed to go, and then she said, "I just don't have time for this." So,
Geez, I talked to her on Saturday.
no.
Terry talked to her today.
Yeah, life changes, I guess.
But that's the easy part.
Yeah.
The CEO that's complicated.
All right. Well, I'll give this Corey guy a call tomorrow and ask him why he was so enthusiastic 2 weeks ago, and now might be that his 2 jobs that he already has have all of a sudden gotten super busy.
Well, yeah. But I think we all need to, I mean, I've observed that people,
They're frustrated.
yeah, they're really frustrated and they're taking it out on the staff in the office.
A lot of it is that Mo dropped the ball 2 months ago and nothing got done, and should just put people off, and now it's time. They need to build. They're going to build.
Right.
And Terry Brackett, I think he's doing the best he can, but,
He is. He's.
and I'm afraid he's gonna walk away.
You got quite a load dumped on him, but.
All right. So last item on this agenda is executive session, but I've forgotten why we wanted to do it.
Wasn't it something about evaluation of staff, evaluating supervisors or something?
Wasn't it David?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's go into executive session and dispense with that.
I'll make a motion. We enter executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA Section 405-6A to discuss a personnel matter.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, John?
Aye.
Jan?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, wait a minute. Before you say a word, I got to figure out how to turn off live on YouTube.
Well, we still got people logged in too.
Yeah. So Cliff, Matt, and Maureen's iPad, can you